For many entrepreneurs, this is the part that they dread the most because for the longest time, we have been conditioned, especially on social media, that there is a specific way of showing. And that specific way of showing up is very much mirrored in our understanding of showing up, which is what we see on social media. And we started to believe is to show up in that dynamic for us to be seen and heard. And to add another layer of complexity, because we will know if when showing up, when creating content, we can only gauge it by engagement, number of followers, and all of that. So the metrics play another layer of pressure on the business owner in terms of showing up online. And that becomes an issue. So you see a lot of great entrepreneurs, they don't have the digital presence that they can shine in because there is that understanding or there is that belief that the only way to show up is in this criteria or in this way, in this format.
This is Let's Make Waves podcast. I'm your host, Rana Al-Basri-Marwad, and I believe that we're all here to make waves. I created this podcast to help you build your brand by sharing with you tools, resources, and strategies to gain professional authority for better business opportunities. If you want to get unstuck, you've come to the right place. Let's get started.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Let's Make Waves podcast with me, Rana Al-Basri-Marwad. And this week, I would like to talk to you about what does it mean to show up as yourself when it comes to your personal brand. Now, this week's episode is going to be a little bit different because in general, I know myself, I go on a tangent. So I always put down my thoughts and I script my solo episode. It just makes me more focused. I make sure that I get all the points that I want to discuss on the episode out of the gate, and I'm just in my comfort zone. However, because this is an episode about showing up, I have to show up as myself. So what I've done is I've put down notes on my book and I'm gonna do it off the cuff, okay? Now, I'm going to start about showing up as yourself when it comes to a personal brand. What does that statement mean? And I know, so I've said it and you probably hear it a lot. I'm going to start with an example. If you're a business owner or you are someone who's working in a company, at one point, if you're working in a company, you want to grow your team, or if you have a business, you want to grow the team. So you put out a job description and you start getting all these CVs to fill up the space that you want to fill, right? This process of hiring someone is not just the single layer of getting a bunch of CVs and making sure on a skill and expertise and education level, this person meets the criteria of the job that you're offering. Today, there are several layers into that. So the first layer is, of course, their CV. So you make sure that their experience and their knowledge and their education is the criteria that you're looking for. Then there is their online presence. So that's another layer. You check their LinkedIn profile, you check a website if they have a portfolio, what is out there. The third layer is that you check their references. If they've worked in a previous company, you want to make sure that the references are legit and that they are who they say they are. So even some people might do some calls and everything when it comes to the references. And the fourth layer is actually meeting them in person or via Zoom. And this is the layer that it is no longer about making sure that what you had on paper is in reality. Like if the expertise that they talked about is when you ask them technical questions, they will answer it, but also a much deeper level in terms of who is this person? What is their personality? Will they fit in the company culture? Will they fit in the team that I'm trying to build? what are their thoughts, or what is their point of view when it comes to these topics in our industry? How would they handle certain situations? So that layer is the more in-depth layer. But in general, this whole process, this whole journey is a bunch of layers. And these whole bunch of layers is because you're trying to figure out and create an opinion about this person. So that, as a in a nutshell, is what a personal brand is. It's who you are, what are your skills and expertise and knowledge, but at the same time, what is your personality? What is your point of view? What is your thought leadership when it comes to certain topics? What are your values? What do you stand for? Um, and what are your goals? What is your mission in life, if or just at least a mission in your career? So these all put together is what a personal brand is. Every single one of us is building a reputation. They want to be seen in a certain way. And for the longest time, it was always because it was in person. You were able to curate that your image and the way you talk in reference to the audience that you're meeting. So how you show up in an office is a bit different than how you show up at with your friends, or how do you show up when you're going to the doctor's office. But in the end, there is this thin line that kind of connects all of these different ways that you show up. Because of the values, the personality, and everything, there are consistent things in everything. So that before, it was an in-person experience of showing up. Today it is both, and you need to translate showing up also online. And that is a tougher, if I can say that, a tougher way to show up online versus in person, because you're able to gauge the reaction of the person in front of you. You're able to see from their body language if you've said something that hit home, if you need to elaborate more. There is that different types of languages when it's in person. It's the verbal and the visual and the motion. But showing up online has a it's a tougher experience, because it's, to an extent, in the beginning it's a one way type of communication, but then as things progress, you start receiving feedback, and you're starting having that kind of connection and communication and debating and discussions and all of that. So when we talk about, as a person in communication, when I talk about through my content or with my clients about showing up, especially online, it has to be also in sync to the person in real life. You don't want someone who says something and then when you meet them in person, it's like it's another human. It becomes this is when you know that something is really wrong. So let's talk about, what does it mean showing up online? And I wanted to discuss this because to show up online, that means you have to have a voice through content. Oh my God, I can't believe I didn't put my phone on silent. Okay, let's do that again. So, what does it mean to show up online? It means that you have a voice, you have an opinion, you have something to share that is going to be of value to the people that you're sharing it to, your audience, and that within these layers of the content that you're creating, you are showing up as yourself. You are using your voice. It's a brand voice, but it's your voice. You are putting your point of view, so it's your ideas. You could be sharing frameworks. You could be sharing opinions. It could be industry. Um, uh, industry related topics. It could be something about socioeconomics within the market that you live in. Different sides of you. And for many entrepreneurs, this is the part that they dread the most, because for the longest time we have been conditioned, especially on social media, that there is a specific way of showing up. And that specific way of showing up is very much mirrored in our understanding of showing up, which is what we see on social media, you know and what we see are influencers, or what we see are content creators. And we started to believe that the only way to show up is to show up in that dynamic for us to be seen and heard. And to add another layer of complexity, um, because we will know if, when showing up, when creating content, the content is good or not good, or did it hit home or not. We can only gauge it by engagement, number of followers, and all of that. So the metrics play another layer of pressure on the business owner in terms of showing up online. And that becomes an issue. So you see a lot of great entrepreneurs, they don't have the digital presence that they can shine in, because there is that understanding, or there is that belief that the only way to show up is in this criteria, or in this way, in this format. And this is one of the main reasons why so many entrepreneurs simply don't have a strong presence online. Um, Another reason is that because it became so difficult to fit that box of how to show up online, all the type of content that is out there in terms of how do you, these are 10 tips of how you can get, I don't know, 1,000 followers in 3 days, and how to go viral in one piece of content. These kind of content started to take traction, because a lot of people are thinking, okay, so if I'm going to do it, I need to do it that way. And if it's not that way, then there's something that I did wrong. I failed in a certain way. So today I want to discuss, what does really showing up as a business owner look like? First, I wanted to talk about the purpose of being online. Your purpose of being online is very different from a content creator. The way you are showing up online, you're showing up as a business owner. Yes, you want to build authority, you want to build thought leadership, because that will position you as the person for your audience to come to. But in the end, you want to do that because there's another layer, another goal in mind when showing up online, and that is your presence, or your personal brand is hopefully built in such a way that it will positively impact your business. In the end, you want your personal brand to be the driver to the success of your business, to be the driver of getting leads, of getting customers, of getting queries for your business. So the type of content that you need to do is not the content that necessarily the main aim of it is to go viral, or necessarily the main aim of it is to collect a huge number of followers. It's mainly to make sure that you get your point of view across. Make sure that you are very clear in your messaging of what kind of a service provider are you, your products or your services, what do they deliver, why did you build this business, who are the people that you are talking to, how is this going to positively impact your potential customers, and why do these customers need to consider you as the person that they want to work with, especially for those business owners who are actually selling services based on their intellectual property. So the coaches, the consultants, the creatives, and all of that. So this is the main purpose. So looking at the numbers, looking at the metrics on social media is no longer about the follower count as much as it's about the quality of the followers who are going to convert, who are going to be interested in your business. So there's this huge relief, I believe, when this mindset kind of this is the mindset shift that has to happen, where the first layer of pressure of I need to show up in this way because that's the way to show up on this platform. When we go out of that and into the fact of, no, I have a goal. I'm a business owner. My goal is to show that I am the right person to work with. These are the reasons why. And it's not just for the reasons are not just expertise reason, or it's not just knowledge reason, it's also personality and values. You want that kind of alignment. You want customers who are aligned with you, not because they need your service, but also aligned with your values, aligned with your personality. Because in the end, you want to not only serve and sell, but also enjoy the the growth of your business and the meaningfulness that you and your business is bringing to the market space. So that's the very, very important mindset shift that a lot of entrepreneurs need to kind of, take that burden off their shoulder and realize that, oh, okay, this could be much more manageable than it is. Now, another way of showing up is the consistency factor, which I know that a lot of entrepreneurs are, they're like, okay, my focus is sales. So I need to, I need to build the business. I need to create it. But that's the thing. We're not building in vacuum. And sales doesn't happen in vacuum. There has to be some kind of marketing strategy around it. And who is the best person to represent this organization than the founder himself or herself? So the importance of how the business is growing and how is it reaching the audience, there is a role that the founder plays in that marketing strategy, and that is on themselves, being the face of the brand of the business, being the face that speaks about the difference that this business makes. So yes, every kind of category within your business is important. But regarding, let's go back to the consistency. Why is consistency a big problem in for founders or for entrepreneurs when it comes to social media? It's because there's a lot of noise out there that talks about, if you want to make it on, let's say, Instagram, if you want to make it on Instagram, you need to post 3 times a day and 7 days a week. And these are the right timings to post, you have to have these kind of categories of content when you're posting, informative on Mondays and entertaining on Tuesdays and I don't know what on Wednesdays. That is a great playbook for people who are using social media as influencers. Your consistency is not in the amount of content that you put out there. It's playing the long game. It's the consistency in putting content out there, sharing your point of view, talking about what you bring to the table, talking about how this service or business that you're building is going to create a difference, talking about everything that your potential customer might be in doubt of not working with you, like addressing all of the points that might put them on the fence and not to take a decision to take the next step and working with you, talking about topics that are important for the industry that will impact your clients positively or negatively, bringing your personality to the table so you also clearly communicate what kind of a person you are, what kind of culture does your business have, what kind of clients you're looking for, etc. So all of that, these messages, when they're communicated in a good cadence, this is what consistency matters for an entrepreneur when it comes to showing up and being consistent online. because you do that in person. Like if you have a store, or if you have an office, and every day you're in the office, you're in the store, and you open the door and customers are walking in and out, you will be showing up like that in person. You will be talking to the customer about the product. You'll be talking about the the company and its history and its story, and why it is what it is, this shop. You're going to talk about the products, you're going to talk about its benefits, its transformation, and all of that. You will be talking about why is it, the ingredients, and why is it priced at a certain price. You will be talking about complementary products to that product, or even, this can work also on services. So all of that, when you're talking about it, this is what you're doing, except that we need to translate that to online presence. So by consistently making sure that you are showing up in a good cadence that makes sense to you in the long term, so you're playing the long game, that is what consistency looks in showing up as a business owner. That's what it looks. And the last point that also stops business owners from showing up as themselves, their true self online, and building their digital presence and their personal brand and their reputation online, is the authenticity trap. And I'm sure you've heard me say that with either a guest episode before, or you heard me say that on a solo episode. There's a big difference between authenticity and between oversharing. No one needs to, be put in a corner as a business owner to say that, oh, the only way for me to be authentic is to put everything out there. Authenticity is being yourself digitally. And by being yourself, is you are curating the authenticity to what is relevant for you and for your audience on that platform. There has to be relevance, there has to be context. So if, how can I say, if you in person, when you are in the office, you're being authentically you within the context of that office. There are certain things that are just inappropriate to put out there in the office, not because it's not authentically you, it's just inappropriate, so that's the context that you're in when you're in the office. However, when you're with your best friend, there's another side of your authenticity. You're still the same person, and there are certain things that make sense to be shared within that context. So the context is important, and the person that you're talking to, who is the person that your audience at that moment, is also important. So if we have these two things together, the same thing goes for being present online. So curated authenticity, I've always said that curated authenticity is being you that is relevant to the audience that you are serving and relevant to the platform that you're in, that is in sync with your values. So as a consultant, I authentically talk about what are the things that I really love, and my passion for women empowerment, my passion for art, and how does that inspire me on a business level. How passionate I am about certain charity organizations that I support and work with. I talk about being a mother and a business owner. What does it mean? Like, I even have a whole episode of how do I batch content, because it's not easy for me to juggle work and also be consistent in content if I'm going to depend just on me being in the mood of creating it. I have to be intentional about it. So, so I batch content so that I can meet my goal as a business owner without sacrificing my quality time with my kids. There's a whole episode about content batching. So these are all authentic things, but you don't see me plastering my kids on on social media. You don't see me talking about my marriage on social media. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant to the context and to the audience and to the the point that I'm trying to get out there. That's irrelevant information that my audience who are following me don't need to know. They can have bits and pieces whenever it is relevant to them and whenever it is relevant to the messaging. And here's an important point: whenever it is relevant to the messaging that supports my business. So when I brought up being a mother and a business owner, I brought it up with the example of content batching and how to be consistent and create a content library. It makes sense for that messaging. As a communication consultant, this makes sense because this is going to add value to the audience that I am targeting or talking to, without oversharing and without being out there, so that's really important. That's the essence of authentic curated authenticity. That is the relevance. So I know I rambled on a lot about different things, but I really wanted to come here, and my friends who know me in person know that I have these um I go on tangents, and sometimes I'm like, I say, 100 times. So, but I wanted you to see what, showing up as yourself really means. Sometimes it is important to show up as myself, but be direct to the point. So I script my shows. Sometimes it is nice to show up as myself and just ramble and just for you, for you to see another side of me. In the end, I hope that the point lands with you. I hope the point that you can still deliver value, which is what I was trying to do in this episode, and be yourself, and hit the points in terms of showing up as the expert that you are, showing up as the with the values that you embrace, showing up with the intentions that you have, without feeling that you're overexposed, without feeling the burden of being in a certain box for you to show up as yourself or to show up to build your personal brand. It doesn't have to be a cut paste or a copy of what is out there. Your tribe that you're building, the community that you're building, which is very important for every business owners to have and to nourish that and to grow and to nourish that community, is to be showing up consistently as yourself with the curated authenticity that is relevant to you, to your business, and to the audience that you are talking to. With that, I hope that this episode and these messages land, and I hope that we can really open that conversation. I hope that my aim from this particular episode is for me not to come with tips and strategies to help you, but more of a mindset shift. A mindset shift that is going to benefit you as a business owner or as a career-focused executive, of what it truly means to show up, because you are here to make waves, and by showing up, you actually get to have the platform. You create the platform for you to share that with the people who will follow your journey and benefit from your journey. So thank you so much for listening to this episode, and to all my ums and ahs. If this episode was beneficial for you, I really hope that you can share it with a friend who will also benefit from it. As always, I do hope that you have subscribed to the podcast. If you have the time, I depend on your reviews. This is how we get the word out there, and this is how we grow to reach more people. And you can always connect with me on Instagram or on LinkedIn. These are the places that I usually hang out, and I would love to see you in the DMs if you want to discuss this more, or in the comments if you are watching me on YouTube. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon, and have a great day. Don't forget to keep